So calling the meeting to order, 3:46 PM. Somebody's got some background noise. Start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Matt's got his flag up.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm going to read the checklist, the right to know checklist. As chair of the Sanborn Regional School Board's Facilities Committee Subcommittee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note there's no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the Sanborn Regional School Board's Facilities Subcommittee have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656. Meeting ID 957-0492-6815, or by clicking on the following website address: public stream www.youtube.com/c/SRSD meeting videos. Anyone wishing to make a public comment concerning items on the agenda can email Matt Angel, and that's at mangel@sau17.net. By providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, we previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the Sanborn Regional School District at www.sau17.net. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 978-482-7394 or email at helpdesk@sau17.net. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance, with each member state their presence. Also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required by the right to know law. Larry?
I'm at Larry Heath. I'm in my basement, in my shop. Wish I was where my background is, but I'm here and there's nobody here with me.
Nice view out that basement. Jamie?
Jamie Fitzpatrick, I'm in my home office alone.
And Matt?
Matt Angel, I'm at the SAU office and I'm alone.
Jim Baker, I'm at a room in my home and I'm alone. Okay. So we have, for the first item, the trusts and revolving fund balances. Has everybody had a chance to look at those?
And I updated them in the last 10 minutes.
Okay, with the warrants from March?
The warrants for March haven't been paid into the trust fund yet.
Okay, when will that happen, Matt?
That's going to happen within the next 30 days.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we just have Matt share his screen then? Sorry.
Sure.
That way we have the most recent.
Great idea. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Gordon, can you turn on screen sharing for me, please? I can't share my
Yep,
screen.
we're working on it. I got Dan running the host, so I'm trying to walk him through enabling the setup.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Matt, can you tell us what's changed from the ones you put up?
Okay, so basically the one that was put up was the April balance. And now it's up there. So if you look at the folder for this committee, the most recent numbers are in there. And what you'll find is this is for July 31st, and the Special Education Expendable Trust Fund has an available balance of $241,088. The Capital Improvement and Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund has a balance of $172,969.
Now, 50,000 would be added to that from the March warrant.
Correct.
Yep.
The unanticipated educational expenditures has a balance of $75,143.
And another 75,000 would be added to that.
That's correct.
Okay.
I do not have an update for the facility use revolving fund because the accounting system is being difficult because it's year end. What I can say is that SLC has been beginning to make their monthly payments towards this fund. It equates to $11,666.67. And so far they're current through August. I want to say that they have been quick payers and very easy to work with on the billing side.
So Matt, that 11,000, what's the monthly?
That's the monthly amount.
Oh, that's the monthly? And
Yeah,
it's-
so the annual is $140,000.
Okay, great. And again, it was 11,600.
And $66.67.
Okay. Thank you.
You can share your screen now, Matt.
Okay. Now that it's over, let's see if I can do this. Yeah, this one. All right. So, and I have 3 screens going, so it's kind of confusing with the mouse. All right.
Just like a day trader, huh?
Yeah. No, for my camera's on my laptop, so I have to open that up. So
Yep.
it's the order of all the screens. So my mouse it's backwards. So anyways, again, at the top, we're looking at the center column is $241,088 for the Special Education Expendable Trust. And I'm going to scroll down. For the Improvement and Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund, it's $172,969. And I'm going to scroll down just a little bit more. And then for the unanticipated educational expenses, $75,164. I have nothing for the facility use revolving fund because the system is not generating information that is meaningful.
Can you go back up to the capital improvement and maintenance? 172, that's good. 969.14. Okay. All right. Any comments, questions, concerns? Questions?
Yeah, I would just ask that once we get the system information corrected and we get the postings from the warrants corrected, that we send it out to the committee.
Will do.
Anything else? What? Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to add to Jamie's train of thought there that with the new accounting system coming up, I anticipate to be able to produce accounting reports more or better reports. Essentially, when we go into the new year, the system doesn't update the beginning balances and it just produces meaningless reports.
Okay.
It's frustrating. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
So when do you expect to have the new system operating, Matt?
July 1st of next year.
Okay. And those fund balances that we just looked at were as of July 31st?
That's correct. And those balances for that capital reserve fund that you asked for, the one for the building maintenance, those are going to be on each of the CIP schedules that you're going to see next.
Okay,
Jim,
all right. Yes, Jamie.
just a question for Matt. When will we start seeing the postings for the middle school lease?
That I was hoping to get that information in on this particular schedule, but because the system is not producing July reports for me, it's producing meaningless information. So all I was doing was just trying to report to you that I have received July's payments. I've also received August payment from SLC and that they're current.
Thank you.
Is the rent due at the first of the month? I can't remember from the lease.
It is.
Okay.
And we would be
What
billing
about-
out. Go ahead.
Does that include other payments like their share of utilities and all of that?
Yes, and we're capturing that information as it's coming in. Unfortunately, for like utilities, we're receiving the July utilities now, and so that's going to be billed out in the September billing.
Oh, I see. So we bill them for them. We pay them and then bill them?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I send out an invoice to them, they're going to get the invoice, and then they're going to get a copy of the electric bill,
Mhm.
and they can apply their allocation to it and prove it through the invoice.
So how often will you be billing? Will you be billing monthly, quarterly, or what's the
We're billing monthly.
monthly? Okay. Anything else on what we've talked about so far? Hey, Tom. Okay, so moving on to the CIP plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first, I'm going to share my screen again so you can see the CIP, or at least the public can see the CIP plan. So what I'm trying to do, I only have 2 schools ready for tonight. So, oops. Yes, that's the right one. So basically, I just want to reiterate what a CIP plan is. All this is just a process to develop what it's more of a strategic plan. It's what we anticipate our capital needs are for the next 5 years. In no way does this mean that we're going to be budgeting these items. This is just really the first hurdle that us as administration have to do in order to do major capital improvements. The next hurdle would actually be designing the plan, getting that plan approved by the school board, and then maybe if for very large ones, putting it out to the taxpayers for approval. Okay, so I just want to reiterate again, this is not a plan that's going directly into the budget or affecting your tax rate. It's just today, you're affecting your tax rate today. It's just the beginning of that process. So what I have is for DJ Bakey Elementary School, I have a few items here. The first one is just a fire alarm update. And I just want to give you an idea that, let's see, let me switch this page. What I put in a request for, oh, and it's super duper small. Let me see if I can zoom this in. I'm requesting $93,515 for new fire alarm, and that would occur in school year 2023-24. So it's in 3 years from now. And also for the public's benefit, we're trying to line up these projects in future years so they're not overlapping and not affecting the tax rate in 1 year. So I'm anticipating asking the taxpayers for a warrant article to pay for this fire alarm. So I put it on the taxation line. By all means, this committee can change that and say, no, we'd rather you lease this or take it from the capital reserve fund for building improvement and maintenance. Okay. But basically what the problem is with this fire alarm is it can't be operated remotely by fire personnel. If the fire alarm goes off, they have to go inside the building. Modernly, the fire alarms are on the exterior of the building now. And so the fire department just goes up to that box and then operates it. Now, I did get some guidance. I wrote in some a staff report for this, and I provided some guidance on when a system could be replaced. And the first one is increased failure rates of system components. The second one's inability of manufacturers to provide replacement parts. The third one is failure to meet owner occupants' current needs. And the fourth one is lack of trained service personnel with adequate knowledge to understand the older systems. I have to say that we're able to obtain replacement parts, and the service personnel that's looking at the fire alarm is doing an adequate job. So I feel confident that they have adequate knowledge. I guess the question comes down to failure rates, and I've heard that we've been getting about 3 false alarms a year. It's probably not at the failure rate that I would anticipate in making a change, but really it comes down to meeting the current needs, and that current need really is to have the fire alarm on the exterior of the building.
$93,000 so that they don't have to go into the building to turn off the fire alarm?
Yes, and it would bring it to a more modern system, one that can announce across the building through the strobes.
Okay, that sounds like a wish to me, not a need, but go, Jamie?
Yeah, I don't understand what the concern is for the fire department to come into the building. If it's a false alarm, there's no issue coming into the building. If the building's on fire, there's no issue with the alarm going off and not being turned off. So I don't find that persuasive as a reason to invest the money personally. If in fact we can't get any parts and it's falling apart and nobody could fix it, that's a different statement, but not just not 2 of those basically down. So you end up with a failure in the system that could approximate something like 3 times a year. My guess is we probably have requirements to have fire drills that are unplanned, or at least that all the people in the building are not aware of it. I would assume that if we have a false alarm, that would count as an unplanned fire drill to meet that need. So to me, I would agree with you, Jim. This is more of a wish than a need.
Larry, did you have your hand up?
No, I'm just kind of agreeing with you guys.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm taking it as a no for this. All right. So
For right now, I'd say yes. It's a no, but it's something to keep an eye on.
I don't mind having it in the plan as just something that needs to be laid out
a little bit.
in a 5-year strategic plan. And maybe that, maybe the 2023, 2024 isn't where I'd put it, but it at least having it in a plan and an out year reminds you that we have an antiquated system that we shouldn't forget about.
yeah, so I've been bringing this thing up every year for this year and last year, and it hasn't been added to the plan. So what I'm going to be doing is just keep adding it, bringing it up every year until such time that it gets added to the plan. Okay, the next one is LED lights for DJ Bakey School. What I'm going to be asking for is all the fluorescent and incandescent bulbs that are in DJ Bakey Elementary with LED lights. It is our understanding that the project cost is about $52,000. we anticipate receiving $22,461 from Unitil as incentive. And
Let me interrupt it for just a second, Matt. I just got a message that Tom can't unmute.
I'm all set, thanks.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, Matt.
It's fine. So $22,461 is going to be an incentive from Unitil. Now, Unitil every year puts out an incentive. This is what they gave an option for in the recent past. It doesn't guarantee that we're going to get an incentive from them in the future. However, with the item that they gave us, the quote they gave us, it would be an out-of-pocket cost of $29,752. And they said that the return on investment, I think it's 4.4 years. Down below on this document, again, I have a write-up on this. Yeah, it's a 4.4 year payback, and they're saving an electrical cost $6,738 per year if we make that.
Would they let us pay over 4 years?
I'm sure that we can enter into that. That means that I have to enter into a lease agreement, and we can do that in two different ways. The first one is we can put it out to the taxpayers for approval, or I can have the school board sign off on it.
Jamie?
So this is a business I'm in, so I know a little bit about it. So what they're telling you is replace your fixtures. So once you replace the fixtures are no longer replaceable light bulbs, right? So when the fixture wears out in 5 years, you have to buy whole new fixtures. Replace the light bulb anymore, you buy a new fixture. You can get 85% of that savings on an energy side by putting in the same exact fixtures in LED tube. And many utilities will also subsidize that LED tube purchase. The LED tube purchase can be had for somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 times the cost of a fluorescent. So you could simply roll in the changing when each fluorescent bulb went out. You could roll in an LED, or I could run the analysis to what the savings would be at that much lower cost than fixtures. Fixtures are massively more expensive than the LED tubes themselves.
So Jamie, you're saying if we put in the LEDs that Unitil is proposing, at some point, we're going to have to change out the fixtures? How does that work?
So a fixture, when you talk about a fixture, what you're talking about is the actual physical construct that the light comes out of. In today's world, that physical construct has 2 lamp holders that you take your fluorescent and you screw them in, and that's what holds them in place, and that's where your light comes out of.
Yeah.
In the new world, they're going to sell you a fixture, and the fixture is going to have affixed to it a string of LED, an array of LED modules, and they're part of the fixture. They're not separable from the fixture.
Right.
They're replaceable in the future. So as opposed to paying $2 to $3 for a tube in the future, you will pay to replace that fixture, you will pay $40 or $50.
So instead of changing the headlight on your car, you're replacing the front end.
Sort of.
Correct. So the other aspect of this is normally you want to be on a replacement program. They call the life of a LED is measured by what the DOE calls L70. When does it reach 70% of the lumens that it had when you started? At L70, it means you've lost 70% of the lumens. That's generally 5 years. You don't want to go too much below that, even if you want to get down to 70% of the lumens, because light levels have an impact on student performance and student participation in work. The fluorescent light bulbs have a 5-year, it's not L70 anymore because that's a LED term, but fluorescent tubes are after a 5-year period, they're in the 90% lumen levels that they were when they started. So over that 5 years, pick your number, 2 of your 5 years, you are well below the lighting levels that we have today. And lighting levels are known to be impactful in student performance. So going this route, I believe we would be better served to go with LED tubes and see if we can't find some subsidies in addition for the LED tube, because the utility is still getting about 85% of the savings. It's a very not proper relationship between organizations, if you will. It all comes down to what the DLC will certify, and then if the DLC certifies it, then the utilities will say we'll rebate it. DLC certification, they were created by the fixture companies trying to sell fixtures.
So with the LED tubes, we can continue to use the existing fixtures?
Correct. And I would say when the fixtures are 14 years old, most of those fixtures they're probably touted as warranted at they're probably not warranted for the time, but go into any of your normal barber shops and you go up and you look at your fixture at the top of the barber shop, it's been in there for 30 years.
Right.
Well, fixtures aren't usually, for fluorescent tubes, aren't usually where you lose your life. You're losing your life with replacement light. And fixture companies don't like replacement light sources. They like replacement fixtures. There's a lot more money in it.
Right, okay.
So I think it's viable to be looking into energy savings that can be had from the use of LED technology. I'm not sure the particular solution here. I'd have to look at the details. I'm not sure the particular solution here is the most cost-effective solution for what we're looking for, because I don't think we want to get our light levels down that low.
Matt?
Yeah, all we're trying to do here is just try to the concept of replacing these lights with LED lights to try to save energy.
And it probably makes sense to do that.
I agree with Jamie that this may not be the best option, but I'm just throwing this in as a quote and to give this committee an idea of the cost that's been thrown out to us.
Yeah, I can do some research on that and some downtime, on a weekend or something, and pull some of my data sets together and give you some feedback as to why I think this or that is better or not better.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, flip that over to me, Matt, please.
Yep. Do you approve of this as a CIP plan?
I have no problem with anything being in a plan for consideration and review. That is, as Matt said at the beginning, that's a damn sight different than saying we're spending money on it. It means here is something that will likely need to be addressed in the future, and this is the holding tank that we put it in until such time as we take it out of the holding tank and start laying it out into a strategic plan. And then once into the strategic plan, as each year comes along in a strategic plan, then a go or no go decision is made on implementing those strategic plan items. So I think it's prudent to have this type of information there as a placeholder, as something to remind us that this is out there as something to be considered for the prudent stewardship and maintenance of our buildings.
Regarding this particular option, though, I think there should be a note associated with it that we should also consider LED bulbs for the reasons Jamie stated.
Yeah, that's fine. I agree with that.
That's because some future facilities committee may not have that information.
Thank you, Jim.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Get the right screen. So I'm assuming that the committee is saying yes on that.
Yes.
Okay.
When you say that we're saying yes, Matt, what do you mean by that?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to summarize all the yeses and nos, and anything that I'm signing a yes to is going to go into a physical document. That document then is I'm summarizing all the data into very summary level, handing it back to the facility committee to approve as an overall plan, and then that's going to go to the school board, and then that's going to help us build budgets if needed. It's a starting point, but this is not
Right, I got you.
okay. All right. The next one is HVAC system. I want to update the heating cooling system at DJ Bakey Elementary. Right now, it just has a heating system. There's no cooling in it. And I'm assuming in this particular document, I put down $650,000. I found out last night that $1 million is more appropriate for updating the system for that school. And
Does it have forced hot air now?
No, it does not. What it has is a forced hot water system that heats the building.
Okay.
So right now I'm trying to go through an analysis of the buildings and for a future board presentation. But this has been something that's been on my mind now for several months that needs to be brought up to the committee. And really what I was suggesting here is to lease this particular purchase, say over 5 to 20 years, and pay for it incrementally, as opposed to trying to pay for it through taxation in 1 year or issue a bond for it. Definitely, this is something that should be thrown out to the taxpayers just for sheer size. However, it needs to get through this committee first.
So you'd be suggesting, in the event that we had the information to put together a warrant article, we would bring it to the taxpayers then, or?
I recommend bringing it to the taxpayers. It would be prudent.
Are there any other options available that would provide air circulation that would be less than 500 or $1 million?
I'm certain that there are other options. Really, this is just like the first step in that process. But first thing I have to do is get this through the CIP process. The thing I have to do is hire a mechanical engineer. And so get the facilities committee to hire the mechanical engineer like we did with the architect. And then have that mechanical engineer look at the building, come up with different proposals. Those proposals would then be put forth before the facilities committee, where we can talk about the pluses and minuses of each of the proposals, and then design the system. I would think that this could take easy to select even just selecting the engineer we'd be into December to select one. This is not a kind of system that I just want to throw into a building as quick as possible, because the result for a quick install is not beneficial to the school district, because you really don't know what you're going to get until it's installed, and it may not be installed correctly. I'd rather plan it out, think it out, make sure we're doing the right thing, and then and take our time, put it before the voters, and let them decide.
What kind of a time frame are you thinking of for putting it before the voters?
Well, since we have a March meeting, I think we could probably get a plan to the voters. I'm almost thinking that this year may be a bust unless we start now with getting an engineer in hand. But I would think it would be more feasible selecting the engineer this winter, figuring out what the options are, coming up with a design plan for next fall to go on the warrant article for the following year, and then do a bid process in the spring to do it construction in the summer of 22-23. So it would be a year process.
Can we, when we're dealing with CIP, can we put into the plan, rather than a specific HVAC solution, something like analyze air circulation options, and evaluate and hire an engineer to do that?
You certainly can do that. You want to change this to say that?
Well, I don't like to put things into plans that have a big dollar like that attached to it when that may not be the route we go. Because again, a future facilities committee might look at that and say, oh, these guys vetted that and decided that that was a good plan.
Well, this is, okay, I have to make sure that everyone understands that,
Yeah.
that this is just like, throwing something at the wall and seeing what sticks, okay? There's no plan that supports the $1 million, okay? It's just, is this a project that is reasonable to move into a plan, a strategic plan for the next 5 years? It doesn't mean that we're moving forward with it. Actually, I need the facilities committee to approve going forward with it after the CIP plan was developed.
Well, I think it's a good idea to put in the plan, to put in the plan that we're going to look at this, but I don't know that it's a good idea that we're saying that the plan is going to cost us $500 to $1 million that we're going to go with. Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it are, this is a big ticket item. That would also be, as I said before, I don't have a problem with it being in a plan, but I do have a problem specifying that it's next year because I'll kick off spending this year to start getting things in place for it. And we haven't done the necessary homework to be saying that's what we want to do. For something of this size, I'd put it in the out years as we analyze and develop a 5-year plan. There will be many, many things that come up in a 5-year plan as the things that are going to require attention in order for the proper care and maintenance of our buildings. And this should be one that is also considered with the others, but not more so. That doesn't have, in my mind, any precedent over any of the others. And I think putting it into next year gives it a precedent that I don't think it should hold at this point.
Matt?
I just want to correct something in the document that I'm proposing. It's not next year. It's really the year after. It's year number 2 out of a 5-year plan. And this committee can choose which years to put it in. I'm just suggesting 2 years from now. If you want to make it 3 years from now or 4 years from now, by all means, this committee has the power to move it.
Larry?
Yeah. Matt, question. This is a capital improvement project, essentially, right?
Yes.
Is there any reason why we can't put a warrant article in to start building the capital up for this and not, just build it up? And when we get the plans in place, we've got the money ready to go. Like what? It's just
Yes.
a way of kind of putting money in for a rate to reduce, keep the tax rate down.
So what I put in my proposal is setting aside 75,000 for 2 years into the capital reserve fund and using that to offset project costs, and then leasing the remainder. I think there's a balance. There's a fine balance between setting aside funds and then leasing funds, and you can get the best tax advantage by balancing out those two pieces. I haven't done the analysis, but my initial guess is if we put in $150,000 over a 2-year period and then finance the remainder, it's probably going to be the best impact. However, it really gets down to, do you want to tax the taxpayers before the project or after the project? And I try to balance it out between the two.
I have another question too. Bakey has a air problem already, does it not? There's rooms up there that are essentially not usable during hot temperatures.
Yeah,
That's what I've been told.
Yeah, during this time of the year, any of the rooms that are within the sun are hot, from what I understand.
Oh, very, very hot. I've been there.
That's something that's going to be forced on us one way or the other eventually.
It is, I have said since I was hired my first September here, that the Bakey schools situation with regard to climate control, I don't want to say just the heat in September and June, it is a concern. That's something that we need to consider as we move forward, and how we choose to do that is up to us as a team.
But it doesn't need to be solved right now.
Right. I'm not saying that it's an emergency. I'm saying that it's a legitimate concern.
Yeah, so why don't we put that concern in the draft of the plan? But why do we need to attach a specific solution and cost to it when we don't have any
Well,
idea? It's the way we're
Jim,
gonna.
isn't that cost, essentially, that's just a point to hold for the time being. It's just, the cost is gonna go up or down once we start digging into it.
The
So it's
cost
just
could
a
be,
placeholder.
the cost
Yeah.
could be TBD,
We can put in $1.
to be determined.
I'd rather put in $1, and Larry's absolutely correct. $1 would be sufficient.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's really important that we just acknowledge, just from our staff have been letting us know for quite a long time that there are concerns about that building. And I did tell them that once the reorganization was complete, that needed to be discussed. And I think it's fair to say that it needs to be acknowledged in a plan and discussed at some point.
Yeah, I think all of these, as I said on each one of the ones that came up, in the end, buildings require care. And having a placeholder where all the different things are available for review in different shapes and forms, and then you prioritize those over what's viable and over a 5-year strategic plan. That would be part of your planning process.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Jamie. I think essentially all we're doing right now is putting placeholders so that we do review it as time goes on. And we shouldn't worry too much about what that dollar amount is now, because it's nothing more than a guess.
Yeah. I like the $1 placeholder and just acknowledging in the verbiage $1.
It's going to cost money. I like that too.
Clearly, this will cost much more than that.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
you know, everybody's going to jump right on that right then. Oh yeah, okay. And then we get the information, we can start actually planning things out and see where it's going. Right now, it's best guess. Who knows?
yeah, that makes sense to me too, because otherwise you end up with a CIP plan where you're spending $9 million in 2 years, which is the old way of doing it.
so what I'm
And there's not even a plan. All that is
Right.
just a placeholder package.
Right,
Okay, so I'm gonna change this, and I'm gonna put in, it's still gonna be HVAC, but it's gonna be $1, in that it would be starting in 2 years, in school year 22-23. Does that sound reasonable?
sure. I'm
Yeah,
okay.
because even if you tried to do it before then, it's not going to be until after the next school year because that's the way it is.
I mean, the reality will be this is to create and put things in the plan. And I presume that in future facility meetings, we'll get into the individual items in the plan and actions. Like I'm going to go right now and I'm going to look into the lighting one because I happen to be familiar with that. And then we'll look at some of these things and say it's worthwhile to investigate item 1, 6, and 8 further at this point in time. And things of that nature will happen over the course of the year through the facilities committee.
Right. And another thing too, by putting it in a plan where people can see it, that we're addressing the thing that Tom talked about, is that the staff in the building knows that we have got it in front of us. And it's not being forgotten.
Yeah. Okay, all right, I'm moving on. Pavement. So, have you seen the high school pavement project that we just completed?
Yes, looks good.
Yeah, I'd like to repeat that at the 2 elementary schools. And if you drive each of the 2 elementary schools, you'll find broken pavement, cracked pavement, grass growing up in the cracks. And really what I'd like to do is repair the pavement, crack seal, um, seal coat, and then line stripe the parking lots. And it will actually make the parking lots last longer, and it will make the building look much cleaner. I'm gonna scroll on down to my card. I did take a picture of the parking lot. Unfortunately, it doesn't show the broken pavement in the middle of the lot here. When you have a chance, I would appreciate it if you swung by both of the parking lots, the Memorial and DJ Bakey, and look at the current condition. I'm estimating it to be pretty much the same price as the high school, at $65,000.
Per location or in total?
Yeah, per location. It's probably going to be less than this, so that the upper end is going to be 65,000. And you have to understand too, at the high school, we did more paving, where we added spaces, and then we also added to the parent loop. Here, it's just going to be pavement repair and trying to, do this. We're not going to increase this parking space. We're just going to improve it, the existing space.
It's a much smaller square footage than the high school. Just wondering about the $65,000 number. Why?
I can knock it
All
down.
it is just a placeholder.
Right, but
We know the price is probably going to be
I mean,
less.
a meaningless number is a meaningless number. I'd rather go with Larry's $1 suggestion than at some
Yeah.
point we're going to go out to bid on this.
I was anticipating doing it next summer.
So that gives you the whole school year to work on this and get that. That's good.
So
I
do
think,
you,
actually,
Matt.
my feeling about this is I would like to see just $1 placement on all of these until we can get some actual hard figures. We know that it's going to cost money, and how much we don't really know yet. A couple of years from now, who knows what the price is going to be?
Right. That makes sense to me.
well, the LED one, I know for that particular project, those numbers are hard. However, Jamie has an alternative to that proposal. Do you want the proposal that was given to me by Unitil, or do you still want me to put $1 in for that one?
Well, actually, I would leave that one because those are hard numbers. And with Jamie coming in with another proposal, we could price that one out, and it'd give you two proposals to be looking at right from the start.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a gooder way to go.
I agree with that, but I think in that section on the lighting, you also need to put the note that it may be better to look at other options.
We can put that in the beginning,
Okay.
that this does not constitute the beginning of a project, that all options are going to be considered when the project begins.
Yeah,
think
and
that's
I
a
would
good comment.
specifically put in the note that LED tubes rather than bulbs may be a better solution, so we don't forget it.
Tubes rather than fixtures,
Yeah,
just to get the nomenclature right.
okay.
Yeah. I think, the dollar value really doesn't make much difference at this point. But the
Okay.
concept of getting the project set up, that is really important. And we don't want to forget about something because we get sidetracked.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm going to put
Yeah.
$1 in for the parking lot, and to have it in for next year or next summer. So it'd begin at the beginning of the school year for next year. Okay.
So we would be
Sounds
working on bids on that in the spring, I would guess then.
That's right. to start sometime in July.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
Be good to take our tour of it, each of us, both before and after the winter.
Yep,
Yes.
See what the winter does to it,
all right.
because that'll tell us the deterioration level.
Another one is solar. This one right here would be another dollar project. I threw in $500,000 because I really don't know what the upper end is on here. But I'd like to have this added to the CIP project in case there's an opportunity to install solar at DJ Bakey, that it's been considered by this committee and that we can move forward with taking advantage of that opportunity when that arises. Right now, I don't think there's enough incentive out there to put in solar to offset the costs. I think our money would be better spent changing out the lights than it is to put in the solar.
Yeah, it's good to have it in there, and I like the dollar idea in this one too. But the reality becomes, I would put it in the out year that you have it. But elections have consequences, and if you listen to some of the proposals that are coming through in the Democratic convention, some of their green policies, they're going to be pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into subsidizing this type of activity. So if they're willing to pay for the whole thing, that might change the timing.
Yep. But that's what's nice about this, because we've got it here identified. So we shuffle it around. That's what it's for.
Of course, we'll pay for it out of the other pocket, but
Oh, yeah.
nobody seems to notice that.
No, like they say, you're going to pay it one way or you're going to pay it the other. But
Yeah,
you will
certainly
pay.
are. There's only one source of money.
Okay. And I want to make sure that I'm going to add a note to this, that it's for opportunistic buying.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go on to the next one. Oh, upgrade classroom furniture. Moving the schools around, I got an opportunity to see the inventory of furniture as they are in the schools. And what we found is that the two elementary schools had different incompatible furnitures. And so in intermingling the schools together, the classrooms, like now Memorial's got Bakey furniture in it, and the next classroom to it in Memorial is going to have old Memorial furniture in it. What I'd like to do is try to get to build a furniture plan where we figure out what pieces are going to be in each of the classrooms across both elementary schools, so that I can mix and match between the two classrooms and not have this hodgepodge of furniture throughout the building. Now, I put in an article. Oh, by the way, here's a picture of a bookshelf that I took out of the old middle school. This is what's in the buildings, or was in the buildings. We went through a purge and purged out a lot of this old stuff. That, by the way, was broken. So I put in a document about what the effects of classroom learning if their environment is if they have a really good environment. And what I want to do is make sure that the furniture meets those environmental concerns. Right now, I have a feeling that it doesn't meet those environmental concerns. Administration has a lot of work ahead of itself to try to figure out a good cohesive plan where we can mix and match furniture between the different grades and different schools for the elementary schools. And what I'm proposing here is, and I'm gonna scroll back up, is $150,000 to be set aside in school year 24-25. And that's going to be about the time when the bond is going to be paid off for the high school, where we can start addressing the school furniture needs. This also gives us ample time to figure out what furniture we want for all the schools. And oh, by the way, I think the furniture for the high school is going to time out about that time as well, because it will now be 20 years old.
Matt, got a question for you. Do
Yep.
we have a plan for planned obsolescence for this type of stuff?
Not that I'm aware of. And yes, there are desks in there that I remember using when I was in first grade in the 70s.
They have inkwells.
I got the new furniture. We didn't have wells.
That's what I had. No ink, but we had the inkwells.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
And I even had the ink.
Oh, you did? Oh, jeez.
Don't forget, I grew up in Nebraska.
Okay.
It was kind of backwards.
Jamie?
I'd have the same comments on this one. As regards, I no problem having it in. School furnishing requirements are going to have a lot to do with what is our attendance at those points in time. From what Matt found when he went back looking through, we bought all kinds of extra furniture. We had iterations after iterations after iterations in the science building stacked up from the floor to the ceiling of old furniture where we went through this process before. Bought a whole bunch of furniture, then decided we needed new furniture, and bought a whole nother new set of furniture, and then decided we needed new furniture. It's all stacked up back in the science room and led to rot. So, it's something that needs to be considered, but one needs to also pay attention to what our history is, and buying a whole bunch of new equipment and then just tossing it underneath the gym or in the science building or what have you. We've gone this route a number of times and wasted a lot of money. Be my interpretation of that.
Yeah, any plan that we develop has to also consider how we're going to dispose of this furniture. In a lot of cases, we can trade it in, so we're not losing that value like we did by storing it in the old science building.
That's where I'd like to see an obsolescent fund plan set up so that we can stop that.
I'm writing that down. Okay, is this okay to put it in as a dollar placeholder in the plan?
I would.
I'm okay with that.
All right. I'm gonna scroll on down to the next one. Boy, I put a lot in here.
I don't think there's going to be a next one. You're at 48.
Oh, yeah, that's it. So, stop my screen for this. Now, do you want to do Memorial another day, or do you want to try to jam out Memorial? It's kind of the same thing for a lot of things.
Do we have another meeting following us?
No,
Can't hear you,
you're
Tom.
on mute. Tom, mute.
I think we should do another night and stop at 4:45. I've got too many things to deal with between now and 6.
Okay,
Okay,
sounds good to me. Make a motion to continue Memorial. If we need a motion, or just agree to continue Memorial.
Yeah, put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Bye.
All
Bye
right.
now.
Is there anything else? We're all, okay, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.